In the past, I've gotten personally so focused on numbers-based goals, debt freedom, net worth growth, savings rate, my FI number, things like that. But then I really didn't think too deeply about what those things are actually leading me toward. There's this conversation around goals and intentions, right? Sometimes I've achieved goals and then I get really excited in the moment, but then shortly after, there's almost like a slight depression. I thought I'd instantly be happy. Why am I not instantly happy? Why did you go towards those goals? What is the path that you were led on in order to give you that intention to move in that direction? I think the goal is to just enjoy your week, right? That's all we want. We want to just have a week where we say, I did not have any regrets this week. I love my life. This is the way I've always wanted to design it. I was trying to get to that point, and I feel like I'm there now. Now I want to grow my business. I want to do it in a way that is ethical. I want to do it in a way that feels good in my heart, where I don't feel like I am beholden to anybody. But I want to do it with this cap of 3 days working and 4 days living. So I'm not saying that I won't increase my savings rate in the future or I won't grow my investments. It's just that I have to do it with this base now.
Welcome to Catching Up to FI, a podcast on mindset, money, and life for late starters of any age on their journey to financial independence. I'm Bill, and I'm a late starter.
I'm Jackie, and I'm also a late starter, and we're your host. We're here to help you on your journey to financial independence, no matter where you're starting.
We're going to talk to experts, other late starters, and explore topics related to our mission.
Join us as we catch up to FI together.
Hello and Happy New Year. Welcome back to Catching Up to FI. This is the first episode Jackie and I have recorded in the new year. A lot has happened, and we're very excited about and positive about what this year has to offer, both to our podcast and our communities. So let's get this rolling. Today, we're bringing back a guest we had in the past because he has a new book out. And there's a philosophy here about balance in life and money that we really want to dig into, and solopreneurship and how you exit the corporate world. Andy Hill is the award-winning blogger, podcaster, and family finance coach behind Marriage, Kids, and Money. The platform is dedicated to helping families build wealth and happiness and time freedom. With over 500 episodes and counting, the podcast has been awarded Best Family Finance Content by the Plutus Foundation 2 years in a row, back a couple years, and Content Creator of the Year. The show focuses on everything from how to achieve family financial independence to how to help your kids become future millionaires who learn generosity. Andy holds the AFC credential, accredited financial counselor, and his advice and personal finance experience have been featured in major media outlets like CNBC, Forbes, MarketWatch, Clippingers, and NBC News. With millions of podcast downloads, I think over 10 million even, and video views, Andy's message of family financial empowerment has resonated with listeners across the spectrum, in and outside of the FI community, and readers and viewers across the world. Andy and his wife, Nicole, have 2 great kids. They started out their money journey with $50K in debt and paid it off in less than a year. In the next 10 years, they paid off their mortgage and built their net worth to several $1,000s, and it may be at $1 million. We're going to hear about this today. They are currently proudly co-fi, debt-free, and each work part-time. In a modern newer paradigm, they value time and money in a balanced fashion. Since his first appearance on the show back in episode 103 and October 27th, 224, go back and listen to that, he's written a new book titled Own Your Time. This is about time today, not money. There's 10 financial steps to put your family first and escape the corporate grind. It comes out on January 21st, so look for it, pre-order your copy, and I've read it, and I was enraptured with it, and you're going to love it too, even as late starters, because if you get going and you get to Coast-Fi, you can kind of coast to retirement and take back time without focusing on the grind and over saving. And so he enjoys also being a soccer dad, he loves to sing karaoke. Maybe we get him to sing today. And his wife, and he relaxes on his hammock, but not in the winters in Michigan. Andy, welcome back to Catching Up to Fi.
Phil, I so enjoyed that introduction. Thank you so much. You really made me feel welcome. Thank you.
Yay, Andy. We're so happy to have you here. And we love this new book that's coming out. And I think my favorite part is the subtitle, The 10 Financial Steps to Put Your Family First and Escape the Corporate Grind. Do you know how many times I heard that word over the holidays when I was visiting family? They want to get out of the corporate grind.
You know all about escaping the corporate grind. That's what this show is all about. Absolutely. I'm here to help with that.
I mean, you start, however, it's not about money. You start with sort of values in the book because it's mindset and it's a family first approach. Can you tell us about chapter 1, for example? Define the life you want to live. That is critical before you map out your path.
I think this one is fun because in the past, I've gotten personally so focused on numbers-based goals, debt freedom, net worth growth, savings rate, my FI number, things like that. But then I really didn't think too deeply about what those things are actually leading me toward. There's this conversation around goals and intentions, right? Sometimes I've achieved goals and then I get really excited in the moment, but then shortly after, there's almost like a slight depression. That's, I thought I'd instantly be happy. Why am I not instantly happy? Why did you go towards those goals? What is the path that you were led on in order to give you that intention to move in that direction? So for me, I think it's incumbent on me personally, as well as everybody out there, to think about those values, those goals, those dreams that we used to have when we were kids that we've forgotten how to do as we've gotten older and gotten into our adult life. So if we can step back a little bit and think about what those things are, what do I really care about? Where do I want to go in life? If money weren't an issue, what would my week look like? Dream moments like that don't happen enough in our daily grind, but I think it's so important to do for people to step back and really take that intention, especially as we're talking about a new year and looking at the year and saying, where do I want to go this year? Taking some time to do that can be very impactful because it can help you be the architect of your life and say, this is where I want to go. And all those things in the way, you better watch out because this is what I want in my life.
Yeah, it sounds like to me that we get our identities wrapped up in the 9 to 5, 40, 50, 60 hours of work week. That's been the tradition that was handed down from our parents and our grandparents. And you've created a bit of a new paradigm. It's revolutionary, I think. Jackie, what do you think about what Andy's doing that it's been very different from the way I lived my life, 31 years of full-time work?
Yeah, I love this paradigm shift. And when I think of Coast-Fi, Andy, I always think of you. And that's just another way of thinking to say this traditional path of working for 40 years and retiring, it's over and done with. And we can create a lot of space and creativity in our lives to make it a much more fun journey. And I would love to hear, honestly, a little bit more about your own Coast-Fi journey. And I guess it might be helpful. Can you define Coast-Fi for somebody that might not be familiar with that? And for you, how many years has it been since you hit Coast-Fi?
Sure, yeah. Coast Fire, before talking about Coast Fire, I think it's important to talk about this traditional fire movement that we all learned about when we got inspired by it. I personally got really inspired by it. That said, hey, what we've done for a long time is work for 40 years in a job, and then in our 60s or our 70s, we then get to stop working completely and relax. And so for a long time, I would say in our culture, there were things that were tied to that promise. A pension, I'm going to be taking care of you at maybe even in your 50s, I'm going to take care of you with health care, things like that. The pension kind of went away. And so people in our community, actually probably around the country, decided, you know what, this contract of me working for this company for 40 plus years doesn't seem to work anymore. That I have to save for my own retirement through a 401k. Why is it even named that? This is confusing. confusing. How do I do this whole thing? And so there was some frustration, I think, out there being like, I don't think this is a fair shake anymore. I'd rather just get out of this corporate grind a lot earlier. So I think the FIRE movement was born out of that, just saying, okay, what are the levers that I can pull early if I can flex my frugality muscle, if I can save and invest aggressively early? Can I get out of this corporate grind a lot sooner? And yes, we saw so many heroes in our community that did that, like you, Jackie, and Bill, that have done that, but they did it like way early and maybe felt a little bit tight, right? Now, I would say folks who tried to do this in their 30s or late 30s or early 40s might have had to compromise a lot in order to make that happen, or they were a multi-six-figure earner in the tech industry, and they had one child or zero children, and it was pretty easy to be frugal. Now, for me, I've got 2 kids. I've got a wife that likes to enjoy life, and so do I. So the idea of extreme frugality kind of felt a little tight to us. In fact, we tried this FIRE path, and it came to a head for us in our relationship. I wanted to get out of my corporate job that I had in corporate event marketing. It just felt so claustrophobic. It felt like I was selling something I didn't believe in. And I felt, oh my gosh, the only way out is this FIRE path. I got to save 50%. I got to invest 50%. And anything in my way, get out of the way. And unfortunately, that meant friends, family, my relationship with my wife, get out of the way. Not good for long-term family happiness. And through some spirited conversations with my wife and some money fights and a little bit of marriage counseling, we came to some compromise and found this coast FIRE path, which is our happy medium of sorts, where you can save and invest. Sure, maybe not the 15% that we typically hear for traditional retirement, but also maybe not the 50% or 60% that it might require for you to get that early retirement number. Somewhere closer to 30%, where you're still saving and investing early. But the math with Coast FIRE is you save and invest early, you get to a point where time and compound interest will take your investments all the way to that FIRE number by the time you need to traditionally retire, which would be something like 60 years old, 62 years old. And then you have that money waiting for you later on. But the beauty with Coast FIRE is I don't need to save and invest aggressively anymore after hitting that level. So what do I want to do with that 30%? Do I want to enjoy more life today? Go on more vacations, spend more time with people that I love, find some more enjoyment at home? Or could you even say, if I don't need to earn that 30% that I'm investing, could I just work less? Or maybe it's a combination of both. Those epiphany moments were fantastic for my relationship with my wife, for my situation with my corporate job, because that gave me the confidence to say, okay, this side hustle I've been developing, maybe this could be my part-time job or my part-time business instead of working this 40, 50, 60 hours a week in my corporate job where I work nights and weekends because I work in the events industry and I'm missing my kids grow up. Yes, so that became our path going forward once we hit that Coast FIRE realization. So that's a definition of Coast FIRE with my story blended in. Hopefully that was helpful.
Yeah, I mean, our audience likes a little bit of numbers, and you're very transparent, like Jackie, with your numbers. Let's run a little bit of a timeline here. When you woke up, what was the starting number? What plan did you make? And then where did the numbers move to the point where you hit this, okay, we're Coast FI, and then we made this adjustment to buy back time?
Sounds great. Yeah, absolutely. So let me just back up a little bit. The time that my wife and I got married, we had a negative $50,000 net worth. This realization came from the fact that we were about to be parents, and something clicked in my brain being like, okay, you better work to protect this new child that's coming in the world. And my mode of protection for my brain became finances. I've always enjoyed learning about money. I've always enjoyed collecting it, learning about it, saving it, and investing it. But at this point in my late 20s, I was just so happy to be married to this awesome woman, and we had so much fun together. We were spending all the money that was coming in and enjoying all of it. Lo and behold, a negative $50,000 net worth. But when my daughter, we learned that we were going to be parents and my daughter was going to be born, we said, okay, let's start to do some things that improve our financial situation so we can give her a great life. So we started to meet together and create some change in our finances that helped us to improve. The debt became the first thing that we did. We looked at that and met on a monthly basis to go over our numbers, which we called the budget party, or I called it the budget party. My wife didn't really want to come to the budget party, but I tried to put some marketing zhuzh on it in order for her to come, and she started showing up, which was great. So we worked to eliminate that within about a year. That was our first big win. Starting to invest and really see the growth there became our next big goal. So between the time we got married around age 28 to around age 38, we heavily invested in our 401ks, our Roth IRAs, took advantage of employer matches. We even got into the HSA as a savings and investing vehicle. We built our investments up to around $500,000 by age 40. And at that point, we were able to look at some simple compound interest calculators and say, what if we left that $500,000 alone and just let it cook in the market for the next 20 years? What would it potentially do? We don't know the future. What would it potentially do, factoring in average market returns, including inflation, and including investment fees, if we have any? I know we're a low-cost index fund ETF group here, but there are still some minor fees in there. So those are the important things to include. So I like to use a 6 or 7% real rate of return in order to do those calculations. But that $500,000 with that compound interest calculator showed that we'd have around $2 million by the time that we would retire traditionally at age 60 without any further contribution, zero. So that's drastic to say zero. So to your point, Bill, did we immediately stop investing? No. But it was a gradual moment of reflection being like, maybe we don't need to keep this intensity up, because $2 million with inflation adjusted for us was going to be plenty for us to live on in our state of Michigan with our paid off home and our happy life with 2 kids. So that realization allowed us to say, okay, maybe we dial back on this investment and start dialing it back into some joy today in our relationship. Because not just 2 years before that, I mentioned the marriage counseling, right? So I'm like, okay, Andy, what can I do to pull back on the lever a little bit here and go back to that late 20s feeling that we had in our relationship, where we're enjoying ourselves a little bit more. And unfortunately, that comes with spending a little bit of your money too sometimes. So that's travel, that's date nights, that's spending some time where we're able to get sitters so we can actually lean into our marriage more. Time with friends. I've learned through some conversations with a lot of really smart people that true joy and happiness comes from connection with other people that we love. Blocking that out on a journey to financial independence in order to hit a number but be alone after I hit that number didn't sound like joy and happiness to me. So that realization helped us to lean more of our money into moments of connection, joy, and happiness in our marriage, in our relationship with our family, with my aging parents, as well as saying, hey, we could probably work a lot less. So this realization for my wife meant, hey, I'm working in this corporate digital marketing job that she had. Hated it. Did not like the grind, did not like the email grind. Her realization was, why don't I just go back to school? Because I've always wanted to do something with my hands and get out of the email grind and become an esthetician. I think that would be really cool to help women feel happy in their skin. And so she stopped work, used our bucket of FU money that we had set aside. It's essentially just money, liquid money in a bank account, to say, hey, I'm going to go back to school for 6 months and then give myself another 3 months of transition to look for work in this new career. And she did that. And now she works part-time Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. And I said the same thing. Why don't I let go of my corporate 9-to-5 job and say, let me give this part-time solopreneur thing a real shot? And we did that again with some liquid FU money to the side to say, hey, even if I mess this up, I've got some money to help me out. And then now I've created a 3-day work week. So I work Tuesday through Thursday here in my new office space, which I just rented like a week ago, which I'm really excited about.
And it's looking good there. You're going to have to pop on over to YouTube to take a look at it.
Absolutely, yeah. But so, yeah, that's our life right now. Absolutely.
I am loving this because You and your wife both weren't happy with what you were doing, and you decided to find ways to change it. You both did that a little differently. I think that's a huge, important point about shifting the way that you're thinking and thinking outside the box. Now, 4 years or so after you reached Coast Fi, you're both doing work you love. It doesn't have to be full-time, because any career professional you talk to, they're immediately going to the full-time. And you guys have said, it doesn't have to be full-time. And by the way, why don't I do something I like? That is the dream life, but you guys worked through that and made it happen. Now you're on the other end.
We're really happy with the result of it, but it's come with a lot of trial and error since that 2020 timeframe. There was a lot of wildness that happened in 2020, just globally, as well as in our lives. So we've had a lot of learnings during that process. One big learning that I had was being prepared for the unexpected, because when you say, hey, I'm going to own my own business, I'm going to do my own thing, I did not realize, coming and working in the corporate world for so long, that you'd have to do so many things by yourself. I always wanted this one-person business, but that means that you are your sales department, your marketing department, your legal department, your all these departments that I used to have. Oh, you don't know how to work that computer thing? Oh, yeah, you got to figure it out. So that was a big realization for me. I had some failures with over-leveraging on certain clients, just having one or two clients and thinking, hey, this is going to be totally fantastic for a really long time. And lo and behold, we'll lose one of those clients. One big client that I had during the pandemic just said, hey, I can't pay you anymore because I can't do my business anymore. So sorry. And there's no 2 weeks notice. There's no transition period. It's just gone. So that was a big realization for me. So having that FU money set aside helped me to bridge this gap from my corporate career, where I was not feeling very comfortable, to now where I am today, 5 years later, saying I can comfortably do my business 3 days a week, make enough money for a comfortable life with my family, and then go back to my 4-day weekend of enjoying life with my family and my friends and taking care of my health.
I am so excited to announce our new partnership at Catching Up to Fi with Monarch. Monarch is a comprehensive financial tool to monitor your financial health and life. I have been using Monarch for 3 years to track my spending, net worth, budget, savings goals, and more. I am not a spreadsheet nerd, and without Monarch's robust, intuitive tools and user interface, this process would have seemed impossible. I was recently also able to seamlessly share my data with our new flat fee financial planner for a retirement readiness checkup when I turned 60. He uses Monarch with all of his clients. After our analysis, I was shocked to find out that we were financially independent 3 years before I thought we would be. You can't manage what you don't measure. Using Monarch was critical in this review and planning process, and remains important in monitoring my ongoing financial health. Thanks to Monarch, all of our podcast listeners and community members have access to a 50% discount off their first year subscription. Simply follow the link below and use the discount code CatchingUp50 at checkout. I am proud to say that my sons are the first to use the code to join the Monarch family. I encourage you to share this link and code with family and friends who need or want to take back their money and grow their wealth. So it sounds to me, and let's reiterate the sequence of events here.
Yeah.
So there's a wake up, there's debt, there's about maybe a 10-year journey of maybe a 40, 50% savings rate while working full time to get to that $500,000 Coast Fi nest egg. And in that time, you talk about the debt management. You paid off your house. You recommend Coast Fi first and invest as opposed to paying down your house aggressively and get caught in the middle class trap of too much money in your home. So you get to Coast Fi number, you get to debt free, and then you get to FU money, it sounds like, and you gave yourself, it sounds, and your wife did, maybe a year's runway of expenses in order to build up your business. You started your business in 2020, the pandemic hit, and you had to struggle through that year, but you had a buffer. But so you made a lot of changes. You had the corporate identity, your wife had the corporate identity. So not only did you make the shift monetarily, you made a huge identity shift in both of your lives, and you're managing your family all the time. This must have been a lot. And the thing I want to really know is, how do you let go of filling up all your savings buckets? What was your income at the time? What did it drop to? You had your savings rate. Were you filling up all your buckets? And then did you stop saving altogether? Did you continue saving at some level? Because it would give me a ton of anxiety. It's just the way I'm emotionally built up, where I can jump out of a plane and I got a parachute. But this to me sounds, what if I run out of my FU money and get to the end of this and it's not working? So take me through the emotional, along with a little bit more of the numbers, that gave you comfort emotionally to really make this leap into independent work. But to me, that would be stress, anxiety, and it might shackle me.
I hear you. Absolutely. Yeah. So for me, Bill, I think it was a moment of pride and ego that I had to let go of for a little period of time there. For me, I was so prideful that I had built this investment portfolio, figured it out, ignored all the noise. I had some trouble with some financial advisors in my life that made me feel duped. And it made me feel so excited to learn, I understand the tricks of the trade now. I can do this and still grow my family's net worth to $1 million in our late 30s. Man, I feel so good that I figured this out. Why wouldn't I just keep doubling down on this knowledge and continue to grow this 50% savings rate, get myself to 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, 5 million. I could be a 5 millionaire by the time I'm in my mid 40s or whatever, late 40s. Something changed after hitting these net worth milestones, $1 million. Since I was a kid, I'd be like, wouldn't it be cool to become a millionaire? And then I became a millionaire. And I said, what's it for if you can't use it to give yourself a better life? And obviously there's reasons that the net worth is built up in the way it is. At that time, I paid off house. Okay, this is a house that my family can live in and enjoy for the long term. They'll always feel comfortable. So there's purpose behind that. I have, at around that time, around $500,000, $600,000 in investments. Okay, this is going to make sure that my wife and I are protected when we're older and we don't want to work anymore. So there's purpose to that. But after that, it's okay. What do I want to do to enjoy life in the now? So I was approaching my 40s and I said, if I have to look at what money can do for me, what my time and my energy can do for me, it is to create time freedom so I do not feel trapped working in a job that I don't like. I'm inspired by the work that I'm doing in my side hustle. Could I make this a thing where I am helping people, serving others, and also working in a capacity where work doesn't define who I am? It is just a portion of who I am so that I can go back to living my life. That is what inspired me outside of the numeric goals. Time freedom, less time working, and more time living. Was it automatic right away where I had this epiphany moment? Oh no, I had a 50% savings rate and it made me want to flex my muscle and say, yeah, this is so cool that I have a 50% savings rate. But then I had this realization that this is where I wanted to move, both for myself and for my relationship with my family. Because I knew this meant more time together. This meant more time doing things that matter together. And so what I did is progressively brought that down from 50% to 40% to 30%, 20%. And then we rode at that like 10% savings rate for maybe a year or two. And that felt good. It felt good because I did it in a step process. I didn't do it all at once. It's the equivalent of working super hard until you hit actual retirement age and then going down to zero work. That shift could be so impactful that you might hit a depression. Same thing here. If you went from a 50% savings rate to a 0% savings rate, you might say, oh my God, that's such a big shock. That feels wrong. I feel anxious. I feel anxiety. But if you could do it in a little step fashion, hey, If you feel confident looking at these numbers, these calculators saying, okay, I'm going to get to a point of comfort for my family in the future, what would me dialing back my 401k contributions look like by $1,000 a month, $500 a month if I've hit Coast Fire already? What would that do? What would I do with that extra $500 or $1,000? Could that make my life better? Let's try that. Let's see how another great family vacation would feel, or allowing myself to enjoy a little bit more of my money today for experiences that bring me joy. Not frivolous things of consumeristic nature, but things that you can buy or spend money on that bring you joy in the present. I love experiences. I like spending time with people that matter in my life, and sometimes it takes money to do that. So leaning into those things, dialing back the lever of your savings rate just by a bit, and then experimenting with using that money in a way that brings you more joy in your life could be a great experiment. So that's how we did it. So we went from 50%, 40%, 30%, 20% down to 10%. And we are hovering in that 0 to 10% range right now, and we're living life and feeling happy.
Wow. And I think that's counterintuitive, Andy, because when someone is just waking up, myself included, the first inclination is, oh, I need to save more. What's my asset out? We're thinking about all these technical things when really you should pull out a little bit, big picture. And the end result might be, you know what? Maybe I need to reduce my savings rate and think more about how do I want to shift my life so that I'm enjoying it more? Because a lot of times our group, our people, our audience are saying, I'm way behind. How do I fix it? I think you fix it. We've got a lot of 40, 50-year-olds here where I think this Coast Fi and making these adjustments once they start to think mindfully about where they want their life to be, their family, their relationships, all the things that you talked about. So this is just big to me that we are now taking control of what we want our life to be. And that's what your book outlines. And that's why I love it so much to say, look at this different path. This way makes way more sense than what we've been told for 40, 50 years, our whole lifetime.
And I think that once we get to a point, I think the goal is to just enjoy your week, right? That's all we want. We want to just have a week where we say, I did not have any regrets this week. I love my life. This is the way I've always wanted to design it. I was trying to get to that point, and I feel like I'm there now. Now I want to grow my business. I want to do it in a way that is ethical. I want to do it in a way that feels good in my heart, where I don't feel like I am beholden to anybody. But I want to do it with this cap of 3 days working and 4 days living. So I'm not saying that I won't increase my savings rate in the future or I won't grow my investments. It's just that I have to do it with this base now in my heart and say, I'm going to do it at this level because this is the base that I said that I want to have living, like a joyful life of this 3-day work week and 4-day weekend. So now the goal is, how can I grow my business? How can I grow my wealth while keeping this life that feels like retirement? Like we're all pushing towards this FI goal or retirement goal. I'll be happy then. So let's create that happiness today and then, build your wealth on top of that. It's a journey worth going on, and I would highly recommend it.
Yeah, the sequence seems also a little bit in transition. Coast Fi number, pay off your house, spend a year maybe building up that runway of expenses. And then the interesting thing for me is the dip and the fear of the dip. And you're ratcheting back. What was your household income at the time you made the leap? What did it drop to? And was that comfortable? Did you figure out, okay, we can tolerate, this is our base fixed living expenses, and then this is our planned dip? Did it work out that way? And did you build back to the same household income in your new lifestyle? Or did you adjust to a lower household income?
It's a great question. Yeah. So when we left, our average household income during that 10-year period was around $180,000. So around the time that I left, it was around $180,000. So that was combined with my wife and I. When I transitioned to my new career, and this was not the goal in 2020, our income dipped to lower than $90,000. So that seems crazy. But since we had a 50% savings rate, it really wasn't that hard. We had to adjust things a little bit. But over the year 1 to where I am now in year 6, I've been able to grow my income for my business to now I pay myself a salary of $100,000. When I started, I was paying myself a salary of like $40,000. So I've grown that to now a salary of $100,000. I'm doing that in a way, like I said, of creating the work week that I enjoy and saying, okay, what can I do within this time constraint that I have to build my business? So in year 1, very hard, Bill, honestly. It was tough. And the global pandemic came through. It was scary. And we had to use some of that FU money as a bridge. And we probably used about 3 months of it straight just to say, hey, I need this in order to pivot in my business, figure out how to do this. I'm totally new at this. But that's what that liquid money can allow you to do. It's a bridge. I can't use another word. It's a bridge. It takes you from a place of hardship to a place of peace and prosperity. It gives you that warm comfort blanket to say, even if you mess up, even if life happens, you got money over here to use to bridge you to this better place. So use it. That's what it's for. So I think that is easier, in my opinion, to build that FU 1 year of FU money in a liquid account than it is to build 25x to say goodbye forever.
Yeah, that's a big deal to me. I love thinking more about how you feel versus what your portfolio looks like and things like that. So you're clearly in a comfortable place now. The last 4 years, or from the time that you started being a content creator, you've done phenomenal. You've got an amazing YouTube. You do all these partnerships. You're the king of financial literacy and education, and Coast-Fi especially. But now you moved into another title, which is author of this book. So I guess I want to know a little bit more about how is that different than the other content that you're creating?
Oh, the book itself?
Yeah, the book itself. It's a different medium. And how did you find, because I know you're taking a lot of the content that you've been talking about for years and you're now organizing it in this book, and you get to add another identity for yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah. I loved being approached to say, hey, Andy, would you write a book about this stuff? And I said, absolutely. What a joy. I've been able to talk about this stuff, my stuff being family financial independence, for the past 10 years. And somebody is requesting for me to put it in a book. And that was just such a gift to me. And I said, absolutely, let's figure out how to do this. Then it came to, how do you actually do this? And Jackie, you know that it's very difficult to put all of your big ideas and all of this information that you've worked on for so long within 200 to 300 pages. And it was a lot of fun. Honestly, it was challenging. I definitely procrastinated quite a bit. I had a 6-month timeline, and then I think I maybe wrote a chapter or two in the first 2 or 3 months. And then I looked at my schedule. I got to get this thing done. So the last 3 months, I definitely did not own my time. In the last 3 months, it was definitely more than a 3-day work week during that period of time. And yeah, finished it. I love it. I'm so excited to get it out there for everybody and have people enjoy it.
Yeah. So if you want a condensed version of all the stuff Andy has been talking about for years in a very clear, concise manner, that's to me what a book is supposed to do. Lay things out very clearly. And we have stepped through most of that. And of course, the biggest part is that you live this and you are giving of yourself, putting it in this book so that others can clearly see how to do this. This is a clear path for you. If you've thought about Coast-Fi, you want to create that financial independence, the mental and psychological part about how your life looks like, this is the one that's going to do it for you. I know, Bill, you were interested in one of the latter chapters about giving and showing your children the way. So why don't we try to talk about that too and try to finish up the show that way?
All right. I want to get to the giving, and that's a great part of this. The one thing that strikes me, though, is you're a very positive, happy, optimistic person. You're a can-do guy. And so you make it sound easy, this path. But there had to have been, other than COVID, obstacles. There's glitches. There's things that get in your way. And it's not an easy. What mistakes did you make so that people can learn from this? And what obstacles did you face in growing your new identity and your new business? And then we'll get to that giving piece.
Absolutely. Yeah. Bill, you are absolutely right. This was not a easy ladder of creation. I've had so many moments. I'll go back to that moment of getting a contract that made me feel so confident to accept this new solopreneur life and say goodbye to my corporate life, and then have that be completely taken away just a few months into when I said goodbye to my corporate job. That was a moment of a little bit of depression, honestly. I got to a point where I said, man, did I make the worst mistake for my family? I am supposed to be the person that's protecting them. I'm supposed to be the guy that has all his money stuff together. Was this a real big risk that put my family in jeopardy? And you've never even done this business stuff before. Why do you think that you can do this? The corporate employee path is safe. You should stick with that. Why did you do that? So I got into a little bit of a funk. I got a little bit sad, and it stuck with me for a while. What I had in that moment, Bill, was a wife that supported me, that patted me on the back, that said, hey, man, I know this is a real low moment, but you've got this. You really do. I know you do. I had a father that I talked to who's also a solo business owner who gave me some great advice and, again, patted me on the back and said, you've got this, man. So I had people in my corner that believed in me, and that was a very important thing during a dark moment. And then my third very important friend was that FU money. I got to tell you, man, having money in the bank gives you some inordinate confidence that says, okay, I've got this. Even if I mess up, even if I don't know what I'm doing, this money set aside will help me to figure it out. And man, did I make mistakes in those first couple of years. I went down paths that I thought were going to be profitable, and they weren't. They were a waste of money. I went down paths of partnerships and spending more than a year developing projects that made me $0 or less than $0. But what I learned from those failures were that experimentation is a good thing. You can find out what you're good at. Doesn't actually make money. Even if you're good at it, it might not make money. So find those paths that work and keep pushing for failure, because failure will help you figure out what the right path forward is. So I would say for the person who's out there that is seeing all this content online that says, hey, ditch your 9-to-5 and just start a business. It's super easy. It's not. It is not easy. It takes a long time to build something. It is hard to sell stuff. If you don't like selling things in your current career or your current situation, entrepreneurship might not be for you, because there is no salesperson but yourself. But there's opportunity too. So if you do have motivation, if you do have excitement around a specific area, and you do feel passionate about it, selling that doesn't feel like selling. It just feels like you're talking about something you care about. Encourage people who feel that pull, that maybe the traditional fire path sounds arduous and long, and it might be difficult for your family situation, to investigate this middle ground of coast fire plus solopreneurship as your path to financial independence.
Talking about mistakes real quick, it sounds like the FU money that you had did give you a sense of comfort. I'm assuming that was in a safe savings account and all that. I'm curious if your other investments, since you're trying to go coast fi, you're talking 10 or 20 years down the line, because in 2020 especially, the stock market went down quite a bit. So was there ever any concern about how your investments were going to perform long term as you were trying to get through this?
Absolutely, there was concerns, and absolutely I looked to voices in our industry that helped me calm down and say, this is the typical market. It might seem weird because we're in a global pandemic, but there have been times like this before, and just be patient and wait it out. And I am so glad that I listened to those voices and those people who have come before us to show us the way, because our investment balances, without any further contributions, have gone from $500,000 to nearly $1 million 6 years later.
What's interesting here, you put a lot of backup systems in place. You had backups for your backups. And there is clearly a progression of creating a foundation in a very deliberate way in order to make this leap. And then what you're doing after that is you're developing multiple streams of income. Can you take us through and partition for us? Because you can't rely on one contract, and you learned that. So how did you diversify, and what income streams? Because I know as a quote unquote influencer, which I still have a hard time believing that I am, and a podcaster, that it's really hard to me as a podcaster. People think, oh, they must be making tons of money. No, I cannot leave my job because of this. We may be able to go to a conference, and we're fortunate to have now sponsors and be part of a network, but doing it yourself, seeking out brands or affiliate deals or all these things, books, multimedia stuff with your really great blog as well. Tell us real briefly about how you diversified so you didn't get stuck with one stream of income.
In the beginning, I thought podcasting was my way to do that. I started to get some sponsorships. I felt very confident about that. I don't want to call it the heyday of podcasting because it's been around longer than I've been around. But I remember in the late teens of 2016, 2017, 2018, I was getting all these sponsorship deals and things were growing. My show was new. And I'm like, this is it. This is how I will make money in my career going forward. Even into 2020, people were listening to a lot of podcasts. The ads were going really well. And then all of a sudden, things changed. People stopped spending so much on podcast ads. There was a lot more competition in the podcast space. There's all these celebrities coming out with shows. And I might have a good show, but I'm not going to compare with the Smartless guys or whatever. It's like there's a lot of great shows out there now. So yeah, my revenue went down in that area. And I'm like, okay, how else can I make money? YouTube is very important at that time. I had been dabbling in YouTube around that time, saying, okay, this is another way for me to get my message out there. Why don't I start putting these up on video as well? That did okay. And then I started to realize there were certain types of videos that I could make on YouTube that would catch more traction. So I started making more of those around the same content that I like to talk about on my show. And then I saw some people in our space saying, okay, you shouldn't just rely on YouTube to make money via ads, because ads can be a little bit more limited and you have to have a ton of views in order to make a ton of money on YouTube, or a good amount of money on YouTube. So I started to leverage into the affiliate marketing game, saying, okay, if there are products that I know and trust, I can mention them and be honest about them, both their goods and their bads, and share that information online. If people want to try it or not, that's great. And this became another income stream for me. So I didn't let go of podcasting, still make a little money from that. Didn't let go of YouTube ads, still make money from that. And then I started to lean heavily into affiliate marketing. That's done really well for me. At the same time, I'm making essentially my video resume being on YouTube for the past 5, 6, 7 years. Brands start to reach out to me and say, hey, could you do financial education content for us? Because you seem to do really well with it online. I love how you interview people. I also love how you do these educational videos. Yes, I would love to work for you, X company, and help you make educational videos, as long as it's something that I care about, that I don't think is scammy, that's going to make people go down the wrong path. So I started doing video in that sense. And then speaking gigs came up, then writing gigs came up. I just kept going in this area, leaning into it and connecting with great people in our industry like you two that provide me a new network. I think growing our network is as important as growing our net worth, because it helps us to create connections, especially if you're going to go the solo business route. So that's sort of my pivot over the past 7 to 10 years with regard to growing my income. And today in 2026, most of my income comes from affiliate marketing. And secondarily, it's creating content for other people's brands, do financial coaching as well. I do ads for all of my platforms. So that's YouTube, podcasting, things like that, my website. But yeah, most of it comes from affiliate marketing at this point.
Do you have a team now? Because I think it would be really hard to do all of this by yourself. Did you diversify the people and get some experts to offload? Were you able to keep yourself to 3 days? Doing all of this, it seems to me like getting it all done in 3 days becomes, because entrepreneurship, 1 in 10 businesses fail. And most businesses throw 80, 100 hours a week into this, but you did it maintaining your lifestyle. And how did you do that?
I'll be transparent on the 3-day thing. That's come recently. When I started, when I left my corporate career, I started it like I was still in my corporate career. I was working 40 hours, 50 hours, 60 hours. I want this to be super successful. But at the same time, I also want to be a great parent. I want to be a great husband. I want to exercise more. So I burnt out that clock. We only get 168 hours, and I burnt all of them and became burnt out in that first year of business. So that was one piece of failure. I still like being a solo employee business owner. I like to pay myself a salary, and that's it. That does not mean that I do not hire contractors. Contractors help me to create a lot of these things. The first person that I outsourced to was a freelance writer. Freelance writers have helped me to create content on my website, both in the byline as well as ghostwriting, which has been very helpful for me over the time. That being said, I wrote the whole book by myself, but I have had some help with regard to some blog posts and things like that where people have more specialty than I do. The second thing that I've outsourced is audio editing. I did my own podcast editing for a long time. I liked it because it was like tinkering and things like that, but I knew somebody would do better than me. Third thing, video editing, thumbnails for my YouTube channel. Let's see what else. Graphic design, social media support, website design. These are all contract gigs that I will hire people to help me on. And some of them I work with for years. For example, shout out to Kaylee Groves, my social media manager. I've been working with her for 4 or 5 years. She's fantastic. She's not an employee of mine. We work on a contract basis, and she can work with other clients as she pleases. She works from home. Like this is the type of relationship that I would like to have with partners and clients as well. So I want to provide that same type of relationship with people.
So that's quite a team. And just to get one back to the numbers one more time, what's your gross revenue? You pay yourself $100,000. What does it cost you to pay yourself $100,000?
Last year, I made around $200,000, paid myself around $100,000. The rest of it goes to the business.
That's interesting, a 50%. Yeah. Great. I thought about one more. I always think about one more thing. An obstacle here from a family standpoint is college and 529s or whatever you're doing. You do this, and yes, you're growing your net worth. You're putting on your oxygen mask first, and you're going to be okay with retirement. But a retirement vehicle actually protecting you from loans for your kids or debt burdens for college into your retirement years, which cut into your expenses if that's the case. How are you taking care of your kids' college? What's the method there?
Yeah, so for us, we did a Coast Fire-ish type situation with our 529 as well. We lump sum contributed when they were born, $10,000 for Zoe, and we had around $5,000 to do for Calvin. Sorry, buddy. We just had less money that year. It went right when they were born. And so that helps a lot because you get in the market, you buy those shares, and they start to grow. We contributed, I would say, for a good period of time, maybe $200 a month to both of those for a long time. And then when we made this switch to having a lot less income, we, again, looked at that balance and said, okay, maybe we won't get to paying all of the amount that might be it's going to be ridiculous, $400,000 price tag for my kids to go to school in 2030 and 2032, but maybe we'll have half. And maybe that's more of the lesson that we want to have for our kids anyway. What could you do, son, daughter, to help us to get scholarships, to take CLEP exams, to do things beforehand that help to defray this cost of college? You're definitely going in-state. What can you do to work part-time while you're there? What can we do to make this a family affair where you're putting in the hard work that it takes to get through college as well? So we plan to contribute about half, and we hope that they contribute about half as well in various forms. Of course, the actual price tag of college that's all presented out there isn't going to be the actual price tag. So between 529 scholarships, working part-time, credits, and CLEP exams, there's so many routes to get to a debt-free college experience. We're going to experiment with all of them in order to help our kids graduate debt-free.
Awesome. And we've had episodes with Ron Lieber, Chris Corinthian. We're going to have an episode with a 529 expert. This is an important piece of the retirement puzzle. This is where late starters can get stuck with loan burdens that are carried into their 50s, their 60s. We hear about this. So I think it's really important to know that you were progressive in creating this backstop for your own retirement, which is in halfway funding your kids' college. Jackie, I want to turn it back to you because giving is a huge part of your life. Giving is a huge part of what you're educating your kids to do. Take us through your giving trajectory, education, their own involvement, because you promote like a 10% giving rate in your 60-40 plan. Tell us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. When our kids were young, I thought that it was a good idea for us to help them learn how to spend intelligently, learn how to save a little bit, and then give. So we had 3 different jars for them when they're a little kid. I'm sure you've seen these where, hey, you earn a little bit of money, guy, put a little bit in there, a little bit of there, a little bit in there. I had an epiphany moment at that time where I'm telling my kids to give, what is that, 33% of their money if we split it 3 ways? And I think, let me look and see how much I'm giving. I think I was giving around 1% at the time between my wife and I. We were just looking at it and saying, how do we give back? And what kind of giving do we want to do? So it was an introspective moment for me as I was trying to teach my kids something. And over time, as they grew in their age and their knowledge with money, we split it up in this fashion of the 60-40 generational wealth plan. So any money that comes into their lives comes in 60%. They should spend it smartly and in a good way. 20% should go to investing because we want to encourage the principles that you guys talk on this show about doing that early, trying to stick with it so that you can have that time freedom. 10% to saving. That's like the short-term stuff, the bikes, the laptops, the things that they want. And then another 10% to giving. And so to your question, what does that 10% go to? For our kids, we've had a lot of experiences over the years taking moments of gratitude to say, what are we happy with in our lives? And what do you love about your life? Oh, I love that I have a roof over my head. Oh, I love that we have a little cat. It's depending on their age. My daughter loved her cat. And so for her, she wanted to give to the animal shelter. My son wanted to give to people who did not have homes, places to live, homeless folks in our area in Metro Detroit. So they became passionate about those different areas. I wanted to lean into that and create a moment around it. We called it the Big Give. We would go get milkshakes. We would empty their glass jars, and we would have a moment of talking about what they're grateful for and how they can give back to people who maybe don't have that privileged situation. So that became a good moment. Outside of giving to charities, they enjoy using their give buckets to family members during the holidays, being generous to their friends. We like to give randomly within our neighborhood. So if we see somebody on the side of the road that is asking for money, we try our best to not think of the reason that they're there. We just think of it as a human who is looking for a little bit of help. So we have a series, we probably have 50 to 100 $1 bills in our glove compartment. So we're always able to give at least $1 and a smile to any situation, any person who's on the side of the road based on their situation. We also keep a $100 bill in our glove compartment too, because there was one time my kids had a lemonade stand when they were younger. Somebody came by. Not only did they get some great earnings from working that lemonade stand, somebody came by and gave them a $100 tip. And that blew my kids' minds. It blew my mind. But at that moment, we both decided, all 3 of us decided, wouldn't it be cool to do that to somebody else in the future? So we've got that $100 bill sitting in there right now. We're excited about doing that this summer to make sure that somebody gets blessed the same way we got blessed. I think it's important with just a portion of our money, to think about how we can give and serve others, because I truly believe in my heart of hearts, that's where joy and happiness comes from. Service to others and giving back. And if I can teach my kids that in a small way while they're young, I hope that sticks with them, as dad is not as so in control of the money when they're 18, 20, 25, and they remember those lessons to say, okay, maybe they're not going to do 10%, maybe they're not going to do 20% investing, but they're going to remember that I shouldn't spend all of this for myself. I should invest a little, save a little bit, and give a little bit. So if that principle goes with them, oh man, that would make me so proud as a dad. But at that point, when they're off and they're going to do their own thing, and hopefully we can have a little bit of positive influence on them where they feel proud of some of the values and lessons that came from their family.
Yeah. Are you a die with zero kind of guy, or you want to really build up a very strong generational wealth so that once you're gone, you've left plenty for your kids and charities?
I think this can probably be an evolution of thought, but when I read that book for the first time, I'm like, yep, that's me. I'm doing that. I want to live and enjoy my life. And I encourage my parents to do the same exact thing. Every time they talk about trusts or estate plans, I'm like, that's great. Like, use that. Go have fun. Go on that trip. Do all the things that you're worried about spending that money on. Go enjoy your life. We only get this one life. And so I'm more leaning towards that. Now, again, if I've built my life in a situation where my business is doing well, I love my everyday, and I'm able to grow my wealth even more, then yeah, I'll give some more to my kids to make their lives easier. I really like the conversations that we've had with Bill too about helping to bless them when they're in those low income earning years when things feel really difficult. I think that would be a really cool thing. I really like that conversation Bill's bringing up.
Yeah, we're a little short on time, but I'm loquacious as always. And you talk about investing with your kids. There are vehicles that you can use to do that when they're not yet 18. You can even hire them and they have an earned income, and you can put their money at some level in a Roth IRA. There are custodial accounts where they can learn about compound interest and how things grow. What vehicles have you used to teach them investing?
Yeah, so I've had the opportunity since I started the solo business to hire my kids as contractors as well. And you have to do this in a very smart way. You can't just say, okay, you get a $50,000 salary for taking out the garbage, little guy. No, you have to pay them a real hourly rate for actual work that's fair for what they're doing. So for my kids, they've become podcast co-hosts on my show. Now, Zoe has probably been doing it. Well, she retired from being on the show, but they have served as podcast co-hosts. My son still does. And I pay them for their time. I pay them when they're on videos with me. I pay my daughter to edit short form videos for me. So with that, I'm able to pay them money. And since they have an earned income, they can contribute to a Roth IRA. We've been doing that for a really long time now. And they both have close to about $9,000 each in their Roth IRAs. My son alone, my daughter too, but I just looked at his numbers recently because he was on the show. He earned $1,300 in investment growth just last year in 2025 from his Roth IRA. That is crazy for an 11-year-old to have that realization so early that say, hey, buddy, if you just sit on your butt and do nothing, you will earn $1,300 in your Roth IRA. So I want him to absorb these passive income ideas early because it's a lot harder to do that active income if you really want to make a lot of money. Roth IRA is one. 529 is another, which we've already talked about. That's been more contributing on our side to help them with their educational expenses. We have dabbled with the custodial brokerage accounts. I'm not as bullish on that. I'm a little nervous about handing my 18-year-old a big pot of money because I know at 18 what I would have done with 10 or 20 or 50 or $100,000. I would have spent it all on some fun stuff. So I have a little bit of apprehension there. We do have some smaller custodial brokerage accounts. I think we're going to clear those when the kids want to get their first car. So I think those are the three right now. I have heard people talk about starting taxable brokerage accounts in their name and then deciding later on if that makes sense to present those to the kids, like you said, Bill, in their low-income years, or maybe when they want to buy that first house, or the wedding, or the big moments, or whatever. I like that idea a little bit more.
Yeah, the interesting thing, those are great things for kids up until maybe 18. And then they have potentially at 14, 16, that first W-2 job. And you're teaching them lessons about how to partition their paycheck. And then they find out there's 4 jars because there's a tax jar. And they got to learn about that. But then the thing that hit me, and I want to touch on, is, I hit FI. And for me too, it was kind of like big whoop, nothing changed. You reach this goal and it's okay, what happens now? Not really the money goal. It doesn't feel good. But the thing that hit me was the giving button. Okay, my oxygen mask is fully on. My kids are 26. They took a little longer with college and getting their incomes going. They have an HSA bucket and they have a Roth bucket. And they have a taxable brokerage bucket is the way I look at it. And then there's the workplace pre-retirement 401k. So there's 4 buckets and they can't fill these up. Maybe at $50,000, they can save 5 or 10%. But with the cost of living and housing or rents and food, it gets sucked up at these incomes now. There's something called seeding a Roth IRA. If you give cash, and you can give $19,000 per social security number. So potentially you could give, if you have it, but we don't, $38,000 to one kid and then $38,000 to the other kid in cash, and it's not taxable income to them. But you can do that in little bits to maybe their taxable brokerage or to their Roth. You can match their Roth. And that's what I've done. I said, you're responsible for, say, half your Roth. And we'll match that to get that bucket filled up because your income allows that for the year. And then they have an HSA bucket, which they're fortunate to have. And we're going to help you fill that bucket up too, because that'll actually be another tax deduction. At $52,000, you get a $14,000 and change standard deduction. If you have your HSA on top of that's $18,000 down. And then your ceiling on tax gain harvesting, which you need to read about and talk about, but you can gift them appreciated shares. I just did it today, where you may have shares that over your lifetime that have a very low basis. And if you sold them to give them cash, you're paying 15% tax on that. And so you can give them less tax for more shares. But if you gift them the shares and have them sell them up to the low income ceiling of $47,000, so potentially $38,000 of taxable income, you can gift them, what is that? The rough math, $9,000 of shares that they sell, paying 0% tax capital gains on. And so you've shifted the tax burden to them, but they don't pay any tax. So it's like giving to a charity. It really is that way. So cash gifts can do one thing, say to their Roth, and that allows you to give even more because that's not income for them. So I'm very excited now that we're FI and still working. So we could coast to whatever, but we can take our extra income that we don't need to save, seed their Roths and HSAs for 5 years, say, and we're really giving them $500,000 in 40 years. You're not just giving them $5,000 or $9,000 a year. You're giving them $1 million at 60.
I love that. You're doing it today too, and not when you pass away. Blessing it today. I'm helping to affect your life today while we're here. That's joy.
And also, Andy, because you're a solopreneur, building your business assets are things that will get handed down to your kids as well, your book royalties, your YouTube, and all of that. Now, speaking of the book, tell us the official release date. This will probably air afterwards, so hopefully the book will be available, but the official release date, where people can find it, and all of that.
Absolutely. Thank you both so much for your time. I'm really grateful for this opportunity. The book comes out on January 21st. Its name is Own Your Time, and my name is Andy Hill. You can find it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. It comes out on the 21st, so if you hear this before then, we're working on a pre-order goal. If you hear it afterward, it's out there, and hopefully there's some great news on how many books that were sold, and if not, that's fine too. But yeah, Own Your Time by Andy Hill. I would love any support that you could provide.
Yeah, you actually have one of those thermometers that tells you what your pre-order goal is. I've seen it, I think, on your blog or your YouTube. Where are you at with your pre-orders? Get your kids involved. It's like a savings goal.
So based on our recording date today, we have around 250 pre-orders. The goal is 500 by launch day. Hopefully we'll hit that by launch day, but we'll just keep getting it out there, and I appreciate you guys helping me with that.
Yeah, it's great to talk to you. We love your positive energy. We want to turn our audience onto you because you have a lot of great content for late starters. So how to think differently, how to think in a contrarian way, where, as you said, take your time now, take some freedom now so you can be present and you can develop identities inside of money and outside of money, because you'll carry the identity outside of money into retirement. Money will not be your identity in retirement. Some people it is, and it grows to the sky, but living giving, a tax efficient living giving financial plan. That's what I'm developing for my kids now. And you can do it with charities too, a donor advised fund. There's so many ways to do things. You can get your parents involved and say, you know what? Don't wait for a lump sum at death. Help your grandkids out now. Give to these 529s, give to their taxable brokerage, help them with the house down payment. There are so many ways you can make difference and Jackie does it for her nieces. She does it for extended family. As you said, this brings you joy. And we want to end the show with just a big upswing of compounded positivity and joy. Jackie, any last words on this fantastic conversation with Andy?
Yeah, my last words are almost always the same. So it is never too late to start. It's better late than never. And and it's always the right time to catch up to 5.
So, Andy, thank you so much for educating us and giving us some really thoughtful things that our audience gets a chance to think about because of you. We'll see you next time on Catching Up to 5.
So, Bill, as you know, we cannot do this show without our amazing staff and the people that help us put this on. And our editor is Fritz Brizard. We love them and they keep us going.
Yeah, Jackie, I mean, this show wouldn't have the quality it has without our folks, our peeps. And we'd also like to give you a few calls to action for the show. We love our community and we hope you love us back. If you would like to support the show and our mission to help late starters, you can do that at Buy Me a Coffee, which is a platform that allows you to make a donation. The link is in the show notes and on the website.
Check out the show notes for resources mentioned in today's show. Also, head on over to our website at catchinguptofy.com and check out our vetted resources, partners, and affiliates for discounts and their services because we love sharing great deals.
Please share the show with others and head on over to our Facebook community to help us grow. If you prefer video, head on over to YouTube and watch the show there. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Catching Up to 5. We would appreciate it if you could also leave us a 5-star review to help our message reach others.
And while we are financial educators that love to teach, remember that our content is for general education and information purposes only. We are not providing financial, legal, or tax advice. Always do your own research or consult a professional before making important decisions.
So, Jackie, we'll see our audience next time on Catching Up to 5. Cheers.